Hey there, guys. Um, so I'm going to show you how plant auxin works in cell elongation and phototropism. Basically, what auxin is a general term given to any sort of chemical that promotes cell elongation in growing stems, or shoots, as I'll refer to them later. Um, so yeah, that's what auxin does. Next, phototropism then is the growth of a plant towards a source of light. So basically, what I'll go over is how auxin elongates cells on one side of the plant, making that side longer and that'll help the plant sort of lean over towards the light. And as this growth towards the light is what phototropism is. Plant auxin then. The specific kind I'll be talking about today is the naturally occurring one called Indolacetic acid. It's abbreviated IAA. What's key to understanding this, key to how auxin works basically, is that it increases the activity of hydrogen ion pumps, which are integral proteins in plasma membranes of plant cells. Basically, yeah, I'll just get into the steps in how auxin elongates cells and how that results in phototropism. Alright, what I've drawn here then is a young plant stem or a shoot, with one side of it having much more light than the other. I've labeled both sides here. So basically, what's going to happen is auxin or IAA is released from the top of the plant shoot, and it travels downward towards the rest of the lower parts of the shoot. There's a short animation here how that works. So you'll notice that on the darker side of the shoot, the arrows are larger, which is supposed to indicate represent the amounts of auxin that is being released on that side. So you'll see that on the dark side of the plant, much more auxin is being released than on the light side of the plant, and this is because, well, basically it allows the plant to its cells, because auxin helps cells elongate on the dark side of the plant. Your cells are going to be, because there's more auxin release, the cells on that side they will elongate faster than the cells on the light side of the plant, because on the light side of the plant we have less auxin being released. Okay, so that's how auxin works then on a larger scale level on the plant shoot. So what I'm going to do here now is zoom in on the darker side of the plant to show you how auxin operates on a cellular level. Alright, so then here I've drawn two plant cells. So I just basically tell you what's in them. On the upper cell in the lower left, it's just the nucleus. It's not really significant in how auxin works right now. But in blue, I've drawn the plant vacuoles, and in orange are the hydrogen ion pumps, which are affected by auxin. So basically what happens is, as auxin travels down the plant shoot, it comes into contact with the hydrogen ion pumps, and as I mentioned before, its role here is it increases the amount of hydrogen ions that these pumps put outside of the cell. And so as hydrogen ions are pumped out of the cell, this creates a positive charge on the cell surface. And so in order to balance this charge out, or to balance the membrane potential, ions are pumped back into the cell, and they're stored in the vacuole. And along with these ions that are pumped into the cell, we have water then that is also stored in the vacuole. And this will be important later in helping the cell finally elongate after the expansins have done their work. Well, I'll get to that later though. So what's important now right here though is that auxin promotes the hydrogen ion pumps on in the plasma membranes of a cell to send hydrogen ions outside of the cell. Alright, so next we have the role of expansins in cell elongation here. So as mentioned before, we have hydrogen ions now outside of the cell, and what's important about how hydrogen ions work in this is that they will lower extracellular pH. They will make the outside of the cell more acidic, basically. And so this allows expansins, this activates expansins and allows them to go to work on breaking the cell-to-cell hydrogen bonds, which I've drawn with the dots between these two cells, and it allows the expansins to weaken the cell walls of each cell. And so basically what this does then is it makes the cell more elastic by each cell more elastic in how the cell walls are weakened, and it weakens the overall structure of the side of the dark side of the plant by breaking some of the hydrogen bonds in between each cell. Okay, then so once expansins then have done their job, it's up to basically how I mentioned earlier, water and ions are pumped into the cell vacuoles. Well, as this happens, the vacuole will expand, of course, and this creates a turgor pressure, which pushes on the cell, expanding its cell walls, and again, basically it's elongating the cell. It's the animation is showing how that works. So yeah, this does happen on both sides of the plant, but again, because on the dark side, there's more auxin, that means more hydrogen bonds are broken in between cells, and each cell has its cell wall broken down more extensively by the expansins. And because of this, the effect of the turgor pressure has it's much greater on the darker side, so cells elongate much more significantly on the dark side of the shoot than they do on the light side. Okay, so to review then how auxin works in plants. So first step then is that auxin is released in greater amounts on the dark side of the plant, of the shoot. The second step then is as auxin makes its way down the shoot, it promotes hydrogen ion pumps to pump more hydrogen ions outside of the cell. So the third step then is that the extracellular pH is lowered by the presence of the hydrogen ions. In other words, the outside of the cell becomes more acidic. A fourth step is that expansins now activated in this lower pH begin to weaken the cell-to-cell bonds in the hydrogen bonds, and they weaken the strength of the cell walls. And they make the cell walls more elastic. Our fifth step then is as the hydrogen ions are being pumped out of the cell, we have to balance the charge, the membrane potential. Ions are pumped back into the cell inside the vacuole, and following these ions is water. And again, all of this water and ions are going into the cell vacuoles. So basically, the final step is that now with the cell walls and hydrogen bonds weakened by the expansins, as water and ions enter the cell vacuole and expand the vacuole push against the cell, creating a turgor pressure. And as this happens on the dark side, because this is happening to greater extent on the dark side, this side will elongate faster than the light side, resulting in once the plant drooping over towards the light, the source of light, or in other words, it results in phototropism. Okay, so one more time then, I'd like to just show you the animation of the whole process of how auxin works. Alright, so that's how auxin works in plants and how indolacetic acid contributes to cell elongation and phototropism. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them, and thank you for watching.